Welcome to the Startups Without Borders podcast. I'm Valentina Primo, and I'm the founder of this platform, this community, and this movement for entrepreneurs who are starting new ventures while starting new lives. Each week, we'll be sharing inspiring interviews with the most audacious startup founders while highlighting resources for anyone starting up. Gear up to get some real-life advice. You're listening to the Startups Without Borders podcast, episode 25. Majd Mashharawi is one of the fiercest, most relentless women you'll ever meet. Having grown up in war-torn Gaza, Majd came up with an incredible idea: to rebuild damaged buildings using bricks made of ash and rubble. Her second business, SunBox, created an affordable solar power system that produces energy to alleviate the effects of the energy crisis in Gaza, where electricity is only available 3 hours per day. In 2018, she was selected as one of the most creative people in business by Fast Company, and her TED Talk has received over 1.3 million views. In an inspiring conversation, Majd shares the odyssey she went through in her attempt to build a business in the world's largest open-air prison. Gear up to get inspired beyond belief. Hi, Majd. Welcome to the Startups Without Borders podcast.
Oh, thank you, Valentina, for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to hear your story. And I wanted to actually start by giving people an idea of what life in Gaza is like. We always hear in the news, in media about Gaza, but very few people know what it's like to live there. Can you tell us a little bit?
To give you an overview of Gaza, Gaza is considered as the largest open-air prison. Why? Because Gaza is a very small place. That's about 25 miles long and 15 miles wide. That's in kilometers square, around 365 kilometers square. 2.1 million people are living there. 97% of our water is polluted. Over 75% of unemployment. And most of all, no freedom. And Gaza is also, it's at the same time, you can see, you in Gaza, you see a lot of contradictions. You see life and death. You see happiness and sadness. You see smiles and tears. People in Gaza are very hopeful. They are the most energetic people I've ever met in my life. So this is Gaza.
Right. So when you say that there's no freedom, what exactly do you mean? Because I believe, around the world, right now I'm in Argentina, people sometimes don't have an idea of what exactly do you mean? What is it that you cannot do and what is it that you can do?
Okay. Since 2006, Gaza started to be blocked. As you know, in Palestine, we are occupied, and this occupation means that people they don't control their own life, and they have no rights, no freedom, nothing, literally. So if you live in Gaza, or if you are born in Gaza, it means you can't leave the country unless you obtain 4 different permits. And you cannot even apply for these permits. Like, it's almost impossible to get all of these permits at the same time. This is number one. Number two is we don't have airport and we have no port. And we don't control our trade. So we don't trade freely, and we don't even have electricity. So people only have 3 to 6 hours of electricity per day. So freedom is not only the physical freedom, but also the mental freedom. Like, as I mentioned, Gaza is sieged since 2006. And siege means you are literally inside a prison, but you are not inside a prison with walls. You are inside a prison, inside a land that you cannot leave.
Right. Now, today you're a very successful entrepreneur, an engineer, you have 2 businesses. Tell me a little bit about that girl when you were young. Did you always want to be an entrepreneur? What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I just wanted to be free since I was a kid. I remember in the age of 13, I was watching a cartoon, and I saw planes and airports and countries, and I said, Dad, I wanted to visit these countries. And he said, forget about this idea. You will never be able to leave because we are blocked. And that really drove me to think of what can I do to travel? What can I do to meet people? How can I help myself and I help my people to have a better life like any other human being around the world? So since I was a kid, I was super active in the community. In the age of 14, I started a youth movement alongside with a couple of other friends in order to promote the civil peace among camps in Gaza Strip. I worked for 2 years in this campaign, and after 2 years, I figured out that people won't listen or won't follow unless I have something in return to give. That's why I decided to go to engineering, because I wanted to create solutions for the challenges that my community suffers from.
Wow, that's incredible. And you were so young and already coming up with all these ideas. Now, tell us about your first business. I mean, you turned rubble, you turned ashes into hope, into buildings. How did that idea come about?
Well, it came from the passion that I had from my own people. As I told you, since I was a kid, I felt how my community feels. And I always knew that it's a very unfair life, and we should have a fair life with dignity, with freedom. So in 2008, our house was partially destroyed during the war. I've witnessed 2 of my friends got shot in their heads from one of the soldiers. And when we went back to see our house, we did not find a house. And in 2012, again, more families lost their houses during the war. And that drove me to feel that I wanted to help these people. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know what, but I know when. It's now. So I started developing a new kind of building blocks made out of paper. And that was a research that my dad handled for me. After the process, we made successful prototypes, but it was not affordable. So we moved to build houses from mud blocks, but it was not feasible for the Palestinian families who love to have a couple of stories above their heads. Right. And then after developing the mud blocks, I found out that we can create building blocks from the ashes and rubble of these demolished houses. We can take the ash, we can take the demolished houses and build a new hope for these people who lost their houses. So we started collecting these old these demolished houses, crush it, make it through a process and produce a new kind of building blocks, which is patentable and help thousands of people to rebuild their houses.
That's incredible. That's mind-blowing. I mean, it's literally a metaphor, turning ashes into actual buildings, right? Majd, tell us a little bit. You're talking about this prison, never being able to leave the country. You were awarded several scholarships and entrepreneurship prizes, yet you couldn't leave. Tell us about that. And when was the actual time that you left Gaza for the first time?
I tried to leave Gaza since 2011, and the first time I left Gaza was 2017. So, and before then, but that was the actual time when I became mature and I wanted to see the world. Yeah. And during these years, between 2011 and 2017, I've got several scholarships. I was the first student who was awarded the exchange scholarship from Technical University of Vienna. Technical University of Berlin. And I remember when the university sent me an email saying, so where do you want it to fly from? Ben Gurion, Egypt, or Jordan? And I was like, excuse me, I don't have any access to any of these airports. And I could not leave. 2014, we were nominated to be a semi-finalist of MIT Pan-Arab competition, and we could not go. 2015 again, and in 2016. In 2016, I said, I guess this is my destiny. I will never be able to leave this country. Until a group of Japanese entrepreneurs came to Gaza and they implemented a challenge called Japan Gaza Innovation Challenge. And by the time I promised my parents to stop producing the bricks because it brought a lot of headache for them. As a woman in a very young age, she wants to create solutions. She's going to factories to produce bricks. She's working with men. She's all over the media. So my community would definitely harm her. So my parents tried to stop me, and I promised to stop. And then a Japanese lady, her name is Miki, said, Majd, you should apply. I applied after the deadline, and then I went to attend 2 days boot camp. And it was my first time to see people who don't speak English, don't speak Arabic. And they were explaining about, the space, the entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurship, and these concepts that I've never heard of. And I became so enthusiastic. I was like, ooh, wow, that seems interesting. Until I met the professor called Unikura. He said, Majd, you are a power of nature. I believe in you.
Wow. And
when I heard this sentence, I knew that the sky is not the limit and I should keep moving. So I had a job. I resigned from my job. and I went back to the BRICS. And in 2017, I managed to get outside of Gaza for the first time through United Nations. And finally, when the UN office called me and they said, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So when the UN office called me and they said, Majd, we got your permit, I was super excited. I left everything and I went there walking. I didn't even take a taxi. And when I arrived, they said, Majd, listen, we got a permit from the Israelis. We got a permit from the local government. We coordinated with the Palestinian Authority, but the Jordanians did not give you the non-objection. And I said, what does that mean? They says, well, you try your luck. If you leave and you arrive to the Jordanian bridge between Palestine and Jordan, if they let you pass, they let you pass. If they return you back, at least you tried leaving Gaza for the first time. I took my permit. The next day, I went to Jordan and I looked at the officers there and I said, I have no objection. I have no non-objection, but it's my first time to travel and I really wanted to see the world. I promise I will not stay in Jordan. I just crossed Jordan. And he said, okay. And he stamped my passport and said, yalla, go fly.
Wow. What did that feel like? So you got on that plane for the first time. What did you feel?
I didn't sleep. When you fly from Jordan to Japan, it's about 17 hours.
Yeah.
It was my friend and I, two of us who won the prize.
Yeah.
And during the airplane, we had Miki who came with us, and she was sleeping, during the airplane. I was like asking, how many planes did you take in your life? How many times did you fly? And I was super, super excited, and we made a lot of noise. So the flight crew came and they sent us to the end of the flight so other people could sleep because we were making a lot of noise. And then when we landed and people started, to get out of the airplane, they were looking at us and they said, "You guys are the ones who made a lot of noise." When we landed in Japan, it was almost midnight, and when we went out to the streets, everything was, they have a lot of electricity. And I said, if these guys have a lot of electricity, why they won't give us one line of one of these lines so we can get electricity to my country as well? The streets, for me, it was shining. It's like a daylight for us. And that also inspired me to start my second company, SunBox. In the same year, I went back to Gaza and people said I'm crazy enough to come back. You leave the present, you want to come back, that makes no sense to us. Yeah. So when I went back to Gaza, I said, my mission in life is not just to travel around the world. My mission is to do more, to deliver the message of the 2.1 million people who are present inside, and all what the media shows is destruction, poverty, unemployment, and no electricity. We should create hope for ourselves and for our people. If we don't do that, no one would do. So in 2017, I decided to go to the US and study business for 3 months in a US fellowship. And I studied business. And I remember in the first lecture, Valentina, we had this professor. She said she was talking about equity, board of directors, board of advisors. And it was my first time to hear this kind of, and I couldn't even write it. It was like, what is board of what? What is equity? Investment? Yeah. What does investment mean? And I felt, and everyone was super active with her except me. And I felt really, really sad. I was like, they will be like better than me. They will be more recognized. By the end of the fellowship, they called me the queen of the fellowship.
No way.
I learned so much.
Yeah? What do you think made the difference there?
Well, it was my first time to travel alone. The first time I went to Japan, I had a delegation leader and my friend. This time it was my first time. It was during Ramadan, where Muslims are fasting. Yeah. I was the only fasting Muslim in my delegation. It was very challenging for me. Wow. A new environment, seeing new people, spending a whole Ramadan without my family, and also get introduced to the real business world with these concepts and these words. And on the top of that, I learned a lot about myself. Like it was my first time to buy a bike and ride a bike, and no one tells me that's wrong.
Wow.
I took trains, I went to forests, and I had a dream list that I shared with my colleagues. And they said, by the end of the fellowship, Majd, we will make a dream list for you come true. So they were saying, we are here in this fellowship is to achieve Majd's dreams.
That's so incredible. You inspire basically all of your classmates, everyone you met on the way.
Thank you. So in 2017, Valentina, we started SunBox.
Yeah. Tell us about SunBox, about your second company. What did it take to turn it into a business?
Okay. So in 2017, when I moved to the US and I studied it in this fellowship, the university and the program that I was part of said they will invest in a new idea because Green Cake is already running, and they wanted to have and they wanted me to solve a new challenge in my community. And I said, energy. So we developed SunBox with the concept of providing off-grid communities in the Middle East with affordable solar solutions. Mm-hmm. We raised a lot of investments from recognized and generous donors and investors who believed in the idea as an idea. We had no company, we were proposing, and we said we wanted to save Gaza. We wanted to bring light to Gaza. We raised a lot of investments, up to $300,000.
Wow.
And I went back home to Gaza with a lot of energy, and that was the shock. I went back home and we wanted to bring the products that we sourced in China to Gaza. And it was crazy, long, unbelievable process. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have no free trading. So when I went back and we wanted to bring our products from China to Gaza, we had to issue different permits for each single part of the system.
Right.
And I had to deal with authorities. And I remember going to the border authorities asking for permits, and they look at me from top to down and says, like, who are you? Mm-hmm. So we had to deal with Israeli authorities, Palestinian and Hamas authorities to get these things inside Gaza. It took us around a year to launch the first pilot, and it was unsuccessful. So we had to redo it again. And now, after almost 4 years of operations, we've achieved a great impact, providing over 35,000 people with electricity. We worked also in the water sector, providing solar energy to desalination plants. We have 10,000 liters per day produced. 10,000 people are using 100,000 liters of clean water produced through our solar systems. And we've also worked in the education, and we also worked in the infrastructure, providing streets in Gaza with lights, not like the Japanese one, but almost similar.
Wow. That's incredible. And,
alhamdulillah, like I would say up to date, like we've done so far more than we expected.
Yeah. I mean, Majd, how old are you?
I'm 27. I just became 27.
Wow. You're so young, and you've done so much. I mean, I can't help but to think, like, how did you manage to, get back up every time you fell down, every time you found an obstacle, every time there were so many doors that were closing in front of you? Where did you find that energy to keep pushing?
It's from people, Valentina. You can, I write a lot of diaries, and if you read my diaries, you would think this is a science fiction movie. Yeah. I've been through so many investigations. I've been stopped for 12, 15 hours of interrogation by the borders. I was stopped in the way back to Gaza, and then they wanted to send me back to Jordan, and Jordan said, we cannot get you. So I was stuck between Jordan, Israeli, Palestinian border, just waiting for almost a day. And now, like even when we are scaling up our company to the Gulf countries, we had to go and launch a foreign company because Palestinians here don't have the same situation like Americans or Europeans. And I still go through a lot, like losing money in the market because everything is depending on politics, like the reputation and the fights we have from our government. The government tried to stop us a couple of times. They took me last year for almost 10 times investigations. And plus the messages I have on my WhatsApp when I'm outside of the country. But so far, people keep me on fire all the time. When I receive messages from people saying, I can't imagine my life before having this solar system. When we worked specifically in the health sector and providing disabled children with electricity to run their nebulizers, electrical mattresses, and other medical devices, and this woman tells me, instead of walking 2 hours a day to the closest clinic so I can run this medical device carrying my child, now I do it at home. This gives me a lot of hope and a lot of energy to continue this journey. It's not my journey. It's the journey of my people. It's the journey of so many people around the Middle East who live in off-grid communities, and they look for someone to save. So I'm so glad to be the one who's doing this mission.
Right. You're incredibly motivated. What made you come back, and what makes you come back every time you go out, you go abroad? I mean, you've expanded your business to Saudi and Jordan. What makes you come back every time that you go abroad?
Well, we have a very famous proverb says, it doesn't matter how much trouble you have inside your country. It's the only country where you feel dignity. Believe me, I don't even have a passport. I have a travel document. And every place I go, I need a permit or a visa or a coordination, literally. And like for someone else, they would say, you've been to the States a couple of times. Why you won't stay? Why you won't apply for like a citizenship, asylum in Europe? That's easy for you to get. Yeah. For me, that's not what I wanted to do in my life. And the only place where I smile from the bottom of my heart is Gaza. The only place where I feel I can contribute the most is Gaza. The only place where I feel life is Gaza. And the only place where I feel freedom is Gaza. After traveling to more than 20 countries or even 25 countries with this travel document, I figured out that freedom is not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. It's a psychological state of mind. And you can be free even if you're inside the prison, and you can be a US citizen or European citizen and you're not free. So you should make your mind free. Wow.
You're leaving me speechless. What is the biggest challenge that you face today? Like, what's the biggest barrier that you would like to overcome?
As the biggest barrier for us now in the company is to make the company running here in Saudi. Mm-hmm. When we started the company as Palestinian, we had a lot of support from the World Bank, and that's what really gave the government credibility to give us the registration. It's almost impossible to start or launch a company here in Saudi for non-Palestinians. So just imagine for Palestinians. Right. And we made it happen. We have a lot of obstacles now of getting the residency for myself, for my team, to get the company running. And for me, like, we've invested a lot in this company since we started, and we wanted this company to run and support the other regions that we want to work in. We want to prove to the world that Palestinians, although they are present inside, we can still make regional and big companies. We can still make successful companies, and we can be successful entrepreneurs. It's not about where you came from. It's not about what is your nationality. It's about how do you think, who you are, and that's really a proof. I remember, Valentina, in 2019 when we got the Muhammad Ali Award for confidence from his family. I worked really hard to get my parents with me. Like, one of my dreams is to travel with my parents. I wanted to show them the world. And that time, my mom got her permit to leave one day after the ceremony. And then she called me and she said, Majd, I'm in Jordan. Shall I come to the States? And I said, definitely. And when my mom landed, she traveled for the first time. And when she landed in the US, she was like a child, 10 years old, a child looking around, seeing the world for the first time. So I wanted to create this access for my people. I wanted my people also to see the world, how it looks like. It's their right, and we have a great talented people who never got their opportunities. So my biggest challenge now is to make my company here running, hire my people, create jobs instead of going into the sea and immigrating to Europe and dying on the way. We've lost already enough. So I wanted to create jobs for them, create a successful company, and be a role model for so many other Palestinians who lost hope.
Yeah, well, I mean, you are already a role model. What would you tell them? What would you tell a Palestinian young entrepreneur? I mean, in our Startups Without Borders community, we have so many Palestinian entrepreneurs, and they are super active, super excited. What would be your advice?
Never give up. Believe me, I've been through a lot that it's enough to break me. It's enough to stop me. And before even this call, I cry every day in the morning because I have so many pressure now on my shoulders. We hire so many people. There are families, responsibilities. I'm away from my family. Now I'm speaking from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of responsibilities, but I've never gave up. I always have the faith that one day I will reach to my destination. And one day, hopefully, I will get Nobel Prize. And that's my biggest dream. So definitely nothing would stop me, and nothing should stop you. And always remember that I know we live under very special conditions, and maybe we are the only blocked nation, along with North Korea, of course. But at the same time, there are people who don't have half of what we have now. So we should appreciate everything we have. We shouldn't give up. We should keep trying. Believe me, one day you will arrive. If it's not today, it will be tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it's the day after.
Wow, that's incredible to hear. I'm sure our community of entrepreneurs will love your advice and your story. You are a woman with dreams bigger than herself and than ourselves. It's incredible to see that, and that capacity to dream beyond any reasonable kind of goal. Majd, thank you so much for inspiring us and for giving us so much emotion, so much passion with your story.
Thank you, Valentina, for having me. And please feel free to contact me for anything you need related to Palestine, Saudi, or UK.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great Friday. At Startups Without Borders, we've tested lots of marketing tools, but email is my favorite. It's the only tool that allows me to talk directly to our community of entrepreneurs. So how do I attract new subscribers? It all starts with an email marketing tool. I personally use MailerLite. In MailerLite, you can easily build lead generation landing pages. I know, it feels I'm talking Chinese, right? Landing pages allow you to establish contact points to create as many leads for your business as you can. MailerLite has pre-designed templates that you can customize in the drag-and-drop editor. It's simple, super cool, and captivating. If you want to try MailerLite, click on our special link in the episode notes, create a free account, and get all premium features for an entire month. You like what you hear? You should definitely follow us on your favorite platform. So next time you're on Instagram or Facebook, type Startups Without Borders and check out all the videos, the stories, and the resources for you to become a legend.